Hey guys, what's going on? Jacob here. So now that we've gone over the differences between JavaScript and PHP, it's time to dive deeper into two objects that you'll be using a lot, dates and math. And we'll also finish out this video by talking about errors and debugging in JavaScript. So let's get started. So in our last video, we briefly talked about how to get a date by creating a date object like this. Now we're going to learn how to display it on a page. You can print out the basic date string from the date object by calling the variable with console.log, which we'll talk about in a bit. But to display the date in a specific format, it takes a little bit more work than it does in PHP. We're going to have to use getter methods to display the date how we want it to. So to get today's date and display it in the typical American way, we would need to use the getMonth method, then the getDate method, and finally the getFullYear method. And if we wanted to replicate the copyright example from PHP, you would use the getFullYear method. You can also set the year, month, day, etc. by using the setter methods included with the date object. Another really interesting object in JavaScript is the math object. Unlike with dates, you don't need to use a constructor to create a math object. Instead, you just have to call math and then the property or method you want. So you can dig up pi by using math.pi. You can use round by using math.round and then the number you want to round. You can square or cube a number with math.pow, and then you can get the square root with math.sqrt. And finally, you can get a random number with math.random. There are many more math methods that you could use to do really cool things. I put a link in the description below to a full list of all the methods and properties that you can use with the math object. Finally, let's go over errors and debugging in JavaScript. For the most part, the process for debugging is the same in JavaScript as it is in PHP. If your program isn't outputting the right value or values, you need to go through the program and narrow down where the error might be. The only difference in JavaScript is that instead of using echo or print r, we use console.log. This will output anything you put inside the function to the console. And where is that console? I'm glad you asked. Remember when we pulled up the console in the HTML and CSS videos? One of the tabs in the inspector is labeled the console, and anything we use console.log for in our JavaScript will be output here. So let's say I want to print the value of this variable to the console. This is how I would do it in code, and this is how it looks in the console. The console is also where you'll look to see if there are any errors in your JavaScript. If there's any sort of fatal error, you'll see it in the console. I know in Google Chrome, the fatal errors have a red background to draw your eyes to them. Like in PHP, you'll probably come up on syntax errors, using a variable before it's defined, and using a function wrong. But you also might end up with undefined errors, which happen with jQuery or when you're trying to get an item from the page. But don't worry, we'll get to that in the near future. And as always, when you come across an error, take a deep breath, read the error, and then get to work in the spot where that error is. Well, that's all for today. Next time we'll really start to get into JavaScript and making changes on the page on the fly. It's really going to be fun once we get going. In the meantime, do you have any questions over what we went over today? If so, be sure to leave your questions in the comments down below and I'll do my best to answer them. But until next time, good luck and happy coding.